Welcome back to the Capes and Tights podcast right here on capesandtights.com. I'm your host, Justin Soderberg. We're back. I haven't recorded in 4 weeks. I had a baby named Riley Quinn with my wife, Taylor. She was born on March 15th, and so we took a little time off to be with the baby and so on. But we're back. Paul Eaton's returns to talk Dick Tracy for Dick Tracy month. I'm just saying it's Dick Tracy month. No, because there's a comic book coming out on April 24th from Mad Cave Studios. So we thought, why not? Let's go back and watch the 1990 Dick Tracy movie and discuss it right here on the podcast. So that's what we did for this episode. But before you do, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Blue Sky, as well as over there on YouTube. Follow our channel there for the video portion of this podcast. Get our audio version on Apple or Spotify. Rate, review, subscribe, all those things, and on all other major podcasting platforms. This is an episode featuring a discussion of the Dick Tracy 1990 movie with Paul Eaton of Galactic Comics and Collectibles. Enjoy, everyone. I love how we're talking about random stuff, and I'm like, okay, let's record. And I press record, and we're into it now.
Right?
Welcome, Paul, to the Capes and Tights podcast. It's been a while. I mean, this is first time back in a month that I've recorded. So
has it been a month? Holy smokes, already. Okay, that adds up. Yeah.
Because of baby. Well, I didn't have a baby. My wife had a baby. We had a baby. I did nothing.
You didn't have that much to do with it.
15 seconds. We already talked about this. No, so I recorded, let's see, I'm looking it up. I recorded on February 26th.
All right.
It is April 1st.
Look at that. It is a
no, sorry, we recorded on March 4th. So it's right
okay.
around a month. 4 weeks. We did March 4th. I forgot about that. I recorded on the 26th. The episode dates were out of whack. But yes, it's been a month. I took a month off because we didn't know if the baby was going to come early, but then also time to, be with my wife. My daughter turned 2 weeks on Friday. She had a doctor's appointment this morning. She's healthy, happy.
Yay.
My wife's doing great. So it's awesome. We're excited. And Paul's goddaughter.
Yeah.
So there's that part of it too. So one of these days,
my girls are super excited to meet their little, god sister. Well, I don't even know what that works at.
God sister-in-law. No, I don't know. Nothing. It's nothing because
it's nothing. Yes. But they're really excited.
Well, we talked about this. My wife and I were talking about this because my sisters-in-law were too excited the fact that they weren't named mother or godmother. And part of it was like, I personally think that, first of all, like the tradition of godparents are different now than what it was originally when it was designed.
Yeah.
The idea behind a godparent is it's a spiritual thing. Honestly, it's a religious thing where if we were church going people, you would then take the mantle from us if my wife and I were pass away, that you wouldn't have to raise these children, because obviously I have other people in my life that are going to raise these kids, right. If we were to not be here anymore. But your goal would be like to make sure they're still following the faith and doing all that stuff. Your goal would be like their spiritual parent to help them do that. That's no longer like that's not like my reasoning anymore.
Yeah, it's not a thing in our lives.
No. My thing is that I want additional family members that are not actually family members, if that makes any sense. So like my son's godparents are our friends, and my daughter's godparents are our friends. You and then the godmother is Taylor's friend, Megan. And so those people are additional family members. Now you guys are part of our family because of this. So naming a brother or a sister of that just doesn't do much to me, because it just, my brother and sisters, my sister-in-laws and my brothers are already part of this whole thing. So now I get to bring you in, we get to bring Megan in and do a thing where you're now part of our family. And so that's the reason why I like doing it this way. And so Paul, obviously you already were part of our family. I felt like I was part of your family anyway, but kind of stuck together anyway. So, but now it's official.
It's official.
Because let's be honest, there are like 17 people in line to take care of my kids if I were to die tomorrow, before you.
All right, so only 18. I'm the 18th.
You have to fight a few people.
That was like so back in the day, when I was playing hockey and I was goaltending, and I was explaining to this kid that worked for me that I had to be like a USA certified player now.
Yeah.
Because of the league I was playing. And he's like, "You can play in the Olympics?" And I go, "Yes, if like 500,000 goaltenders in the United States drop dead, then yes, I could maybe play in the Olympics."
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very long line before they're ever going to get to me.
Well,
There,
Paul,
there are 20 goalies in the rink I play at that are better than me already.
when we turned to at 35, both of us, we were both able to become president.
Right.
That does not mean we will become president.
I don't think so.
So there's we are legally allowed to now become president. Whereas
do we start campaigning?
Before, yes, exactly. Let's do a Soderberg and an Eaton ticket.
Yeah. Why not?
Our slogans just be like, anything is better than what we have. That's what our slogan is.
Could be worse.
Yeah, could be worse. At least we're not the other guys.
Right.
But yeah, exactly. No. So yeah, it's kind of funny. Like, yes, you can be a goaltender.
I can. Yeah, 100% sure.
You're allowed to be. Doesn't mean you're going to be. But we are here not to talk about random stuff like that, which we can. Let's just shoot the shit the entire time, call it an episode, and be good.
At the end of it, they're just like, did they actually talk about Dick Tracy at all?
Yeah, you and I are too sober for that. That we leave that we're almost getting up on a year of episode 100, or was it 99?
Yeah, episode 99. Yeah.
Nova was looking through pictures on my phone, and that picture of us that we took in the hotel room there, he's like, "Oh, it's Dada and Paul." I'm like, "Oh my god, we were a couple beers."
Oh yeah, we were history. Yeah, we were gone. I'm going to that show again.
Yes, coming up here.
Couple weeks here.
Yeah. I gotta see who's coming, because I don't know if I need to send some stuff down with you or not. But
yeah, of course. Yeah, no, there's some great creators coming to this show, so I'm pretty excited.
We'll see. But yeah, we're here to talk to Dick Tracy. So Dick Tracy, the reason why we talked about Dick Tracy this time, Paul and I, if anybody's new to listening to Paul and I's episodes on here, are
listening to our antics.
Is we do movie reviews, and we tend to do periphery, obscure
bad movies. Just say what it is. We tend to watch bad movies.
They fit the zeitgeist in the pop culture zeitgeist we cover here on Capes and Tights, but they're the obscure ones. They're the bad ones majority of the time. The ones that people either didn't know existed or forgot about or whatever. And so we're talking about the movies to do, and this wasn't even on my list to start off. It was on my list, but it wasn't on my list to do soon. Yeah. And then I realized, as I'm like planning ahead and talking about creator guests on here and things like that, that I forgot that Mad Cave Studios has the rights now to publish Dick Tracy comic books.
Yeah.
And with that, they're coming out with Dick Tracy #1 this month. So I think it's the 20th. Now I should have known that.
Yeah, that would have been a good thing for either of us to have on here.
Yeah, exactly. Right. It's on here. It is coming out April 24th of this month. So the 24th of this month is Dick Tracy #1, written by Alex Segura and Michael Morrissey. There's artwork from Geraldo Borges, and Mark Engelhart is doing the colors. Jim Campbell on the letters over at Dick Tracy. Number of variant covers, including our friend Jesse Lundberg is doing a variant for I believe Santana Collectibles, but I'm not sure 100% sure on that. And that's awesome. So here's this. This episode comes out on the 3rd of April. That's our date. So we're recording this on Monday. It's coming out 3rd. We have one episode in between that, which is David Ebeltoft and Jordan Hart, who wrote the comic book The Cabinet. That will come out next week. But the following week, April 17th, it's Alex Segura and Michael Morrissey talking about Dick Tracy #1. So we thought in this month of April, let's put some effort into Dick Tracy and watch the high caliber, award-winning,
much better than most of the movies we ever watched.
Dick Tracy movie from the early 90s, 1990 precisely.
I like it better than Star Wars.
What did I just watch? This is better than the new freaking Indiana Jones movie. I watched that the other day.
Oh yeah, I haven't watched that yet.
I also watched Ghostbusters. New Ghostbusters I watched recently.
We were gonna go to the theater for that this weekend. Of course, we had Easter Sunday, so that was busy, and then we had the snowstorm the previous weekend. So then we had a book signing with our friend Bob Takic was in shop on Saturday. So I have not had any free time to go see Ghostbusters, but I'm looking forward to it, even though I'm not hearing great things.
It just wasn't. I mean, obviously nothing's ever gonna be the original. Nothing. Yeah. Except for Paul thinks #2 is just as good. So I don't know.
#2 is awesome.
Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so then there's just that one.
You'll never be able to look at a painting again. Terrifying.
There's that one Ghostbusters that we don't talk about, but other than that, they're all good. Honestly, they're all what I wrote in my review on the website, if you want to check it out at capesandtights.com for Ghostbusters, is I am just happy we get this stuff to watch. Like, it literally could be trash. I don't care. We live in an era that all the stuff, Paul, gets to come out and we get to see it. There's new, you might not be a huge Star Wars fan, Paul. Other people are, including myself. So when a new Star Wars thing comes out, I just want to watch it. I get to see things that happen
it's
in
just
the
nice to
universe
have
of Star Wars.
No, I agree with that.
Exactly. And same thing goes for Marvel movies and DC movies. They might not be good, but the fact that a DC fan gets to see Black Adam on screen or The Flash on screen is a cool, fun thing that we get to do. We talk about movies from the 90s. One came out every freaking 4 or 5 years that had comic books. We get them all the time now. So like we gotta be happy with these things.
Discussion here, some people had complaints about the new TMNT animated movie, or we were discussing Across the Spider-Verse. So with that, I said, you know what? Those aren't for us. They're for the generation that's younger, and it's great that it's out there. And the amount of kids that come in here now loving Ninja Turtles because of that movie, like, hey, I'm all for it. Like,
and we waited. Oh my gosh, when Iron Man 1 came out, I was like, oh my gosh, they're making an Iron Man movie. This is freaking insane. Nowadays, it's like, what next cool thing can we get? And our kids, including your kids, even though they're a little bit older, they're obviously a little bit, they're older than my kids, not old, but they're older than my kids.
Yeah.
They're not going to know another time where there wasn't this stuff out there. Like there wasn't just pop culture movies out there. And
they're not going to understand that.
And it's just there. And so like the idea that
kids going to school Emma goes to school wearing a Venom t-shirt.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I wore a Venom t-shirt in my day, but they weren't like, I had to buy it from the comic store in town here. You know what I mean? There wasn't every kid in school wearing this stuff.
You get a Target now.
Around.
Target sells Scotty Young t-shirts. Like it's crazy. Like that. So it's cool to see that. And that's my biggest thing is like whether the movie sucked or not, I was able to see a movie about the Ghostbusters that included the original Ghostbusters in 2024. Like we never thought after Ghostbusters 2 we were ever going to see that group again on TV again. So like that to me is cool. And the fact that this new Star Wars Acolyte coming out on Disney Plus in June, a cool new thing in the Star Wars universe. It could suck. I still get the chance to see this now. And I learned that honestly from our buddy. I say our buddy, Kevin Smith. He's in the same world as us.
He's a good friend of ours. Yeah.
Friend of ours. Kevin Smith. He's the same thing. He's like, I'm just super freaking happy. We're nerds. We get to see this stuff on big screens and stuff like that. Like it's so badass. So in the end, movies could suck. Movies can be amazing. The fact that we get to watch them, and it is so much fun. So we decided that Dick Tracy was the movie to watch and review in April because Dick Tracy month. I'm going to call it Dick Tracy month. There we go.
Dick Tracy month.
Dick Tracy month.
Let's do it up.
And the last time I saw this, Paul, I don't know. I was 20 years ago.
I'm going to say I'm around the same. So when I had this as a kid. I had it I had a giant like VHS collection growing up. And when we moved, I was 13. We moved from what my parents is now their house.
Yeah.
And I went through my movie collection and said, well, I'm going to get rid of stuff because my room was going to be smaller and this and that. And Dick Tracy didn't make the cut. To me, it was too much of a kid movie. And I was getting rid of all of my kid movie stuff. So I have not seen this movie since I was presumably somewhere around 13 years old.
Yep.
And I'm really glad that I had the opportunity now to watch it again. And I'm glad to enjoy it as an adult now. So I was stoked when you said we were going to watch Dick Tracy.
Do you think that it's not just seeing as a more mature eye, but what we've seen come out? I'm not talking about bad movies that we've watched or movies that, like I said, I'm happy about seeing The Flash on screen, even though the movie sucked.
Right.
The idea that because we've seen these failures of our favorite characters that we've seen, to see looking back on this, some people might have been like, that movie was stupid. Like, going back and go, it actually was pretty cool. Like to think about when it was made, how it was made, and all that stuff, and the quality and the special
effort that went into this movie. The effort that went into it, because so I watched this with my wife, and my wife had never seen it. She actually checked out about halfway through. She's like, yeah.
Exactly.
And I'm like, seriously? But I mean, I have the childhood nostalgia of it.
Yes.
She's like, I could probably finish it. She goes, I'm just not that interested in it.
Yeah.
But she asked me originally when it started, and you have like one of the opening scenes with the bad guys there, and she's like, why the hell do they look like this?
Yes.
And I'm like, well, they went through the time to make these guys look like they did in the old strips. Yes. And in the old comic strips, the bad guys looked like bad guys. They're all weird looking and crazy. And the fact that they went in through so much development time and makeup stuff. The scene with the goon when Dick Tracy's beating the guy up in the shack that like shoved the little kid.
Yeah.
Like, man, they spent time on this, and it's nice now watching it high def, actually to really, I think, appreciate it more than
And I think they were ahead of their time in some of this stuff because I feel like
yeah.
Spider-Verse and some of these other like unique way of filming things or unique animations or unique whatever, or the ability to put humor over the top humor in things like when they were fighting in that in the little house style building, the wooden building, and the building is going like
The
this and they're
shacks
fighting
going
back and
back
forth,
and
and
forth,
then it
which I
fall.
also felt like exactly you would see in like the news strip. You know what I mean?
Yes,
It would
yeah. And
lean
so
this
like it
way, and
was,
he'd punch him and go that way, and it was
and
great
so
seeing all that.
that stuff I feel like they were almost ahead of their time, and I think that's maybe why people might have like because if this movie was made nowadays, people are like, oh, look at that. They're going and they're doing a unique thing. They're doing this
Yeah,
fun, like kind of over the top, slapsticky, like making fun of themselves kind of thing. But back then, I think people were like, what are you doing? And so
right.
that's probably part of the reason. But I do also think on the other side of that, that if they would have done it like early 2000s, 2005 to 2010, somewhere around there, they did a remake of it, they would have interpreted what they looked like in the comic book strip into something else. They would have gotten
Yeah,
a guy with a flatter face of some sort or a flatter, like a
but it wouldn't
bigger
have been.
head,
Yeah, I
but
don't think
not
it would have been as
absorbed, like not like crazy
severe.
big. Yes, they would have
Yeah,
made it
like
a
this
little
this
bit
was like
bigger. Yes,
severe,
this was
and
like this is not real. Like this is obviously
yeah,
fake kind
this
of
is
thing.
obviously
Yes.
fake. But they did a great job of it, and it's amazing how well it stood up going in, especially going from my childhood memories and watching this on VHS and on old televisions to watching it now in high definition. How great it looks,
Mhm.
and I feel like the things that maybe they did not understanding how relevant it was going to be to the future of how well this stands up. The background scenes that are painted and all of this stuff that they did, but it shows up beautifully here and makes it look more like you're watching a comic strip.
It does, and it makes it
It's
look like
phenomenal.
it looks less fake. When you try to make it look
Yeah,
real, and you can't, it looks fake. If that makes any
yeah.
sense. When you try to
And
make it
still,
look
this all
fake,
it all plays together. It
yeah,
gives you
it
this like
works so
2D,
well.
3D thing happening, and it looks like we are watching an old 1940s comic strip come
Mhm.
to life. And the whole world looks like that, right? You have
Yes.
like the crazy like architect and buildings, and then the background, the moon's huge and all painted and stuff's lit up, and it's it really is beautiful watching this. I could not believe how much I enjoyed this movie now after watching it when I was a kid.
And they could have easily done an animated, like they could have done an animated film, which which
I
would have
think
made sense. So you know what I mean? Like
I
it
think
would
it'd
have
be
been
great to see
like,
this animated now. I would love to
yeah,
see
I
a
do
Dick
think
Tracy
I would
animated
love that.
show.
But here's the deal: what if they did it like not Spider Verse style, but like made it look like the comic book strip, but
Mm,
animated? And so like
right.
it's actually like even if it's in black and white, if it needs to be like
You
all
could
that stuff,
you
just
could
like
play
have
off the
fun with
2D,
it. Yeah,
3D thing again,
yeah,
have flat backgrounds
yeah.
again, but have the characters in full depth, like definition and stuff. It'd be, I don't know, I think it'd be great to do. I think Dick Tracy is an awesome like piece of culture that is kind of like fallen by the wayside, sort of forgotten. So the fact that Mad Cave is doing this comic for it is phenomenal, and it's something different and unique. Um, and to what we have now, right? It's
Mhm.
different and unique to today's regular publications and comics, and I feel like it'd be great to see in movie format again. These old gangsters and bad guys and the cop, going out there and doing justice, and
Yes, I love it.
I
So
love it.
Warren Beatty, who directed the film, also
Yep.
starred as Dick Tracy.
He
He probably
he did
also
like
brought the film reels to the actual place to like put it.
he did
He
like
probably sold tickets at
everything with this
he
movie.
probably sold tickets at the ticket booth at your local movie
He's like
theater.
making the popcorn up.
Um,
He owned this thing. He was
yes,
like,
he did.
I want this
Funny how you
done
say that,
right.
Paul. Funny how you say that because he also owns the rights to it.
Yeah. Yeah, he does now, right? And he did
He bought the
he
rights
did
to it.
then.
Still,
But I was reading
yes.
they tried to make this movie previously with with a different actor and with some different
Mhm.
stuff, and it fell by the wayside. And then they came back and pitched it again, and then he picked it up and just like ran with it.
So I'm going to paraphrase this, and it's probably wrong, so people can do their own research on this. But the idea is that he owns the rights to it, and we've talked about lapsed rights, and you have to create things and do
Yeah,
things and
things
all
have
that
to be
stuff.
done, and
That we talked about Fantastic Four and all that
yeah, I
stuff.
was
Go
gonna say
back to
Fantastic Four is the number one thing that comes to
prime
mind with
example of
that.
that. But because he owns the rights to it, does not mean he owns the rights to it in perpetuity forever. Like he has to
Right.
do stuff with it. And obviously, this movie came out in 1990, and there hasn't been any new movies since or TV shows or anything like that,
Mm.
except for on what was it? Is it TCM? What's it called? The Time Channel Movies or something like that. Turner Classic Movies. That's
Okay.
what it is. He's created over the years. In 2011, he did the Dick Tracy special, and then he does Dick Tracy Zooms In, and then there's a sequel called Dick Tracy Sequel or whatever. He over the past number of years, when he gets close to the point where his rights might lapse, he does these weird things where he like does these specials around Dick Tracy to allow him to continue to hold the rights, but hasn't
That's awesome.
wanted to or had the ability or given anybody the ability to remake this movie or make another movie and show all this to the comic books. But I'm pretty sure that print material and movie materials are different. So it's not like he owns the rights to the comics. Whoever created this and the estate and things like that for Dick Tracy, the creators of Dick Tracy
still has all the rights.
Still has all the print rights to it. So I'm guessing that's how it ended up at Mad Cave. But with Mad Cave and the selling the comics and all that stuff, I don't know. Warren Beatty's like 85, 86, 87 years old. Why not do something and put something out there and make him have a cameo or do some sort of I don't know,
have him in there as a commissioner or something. You know what? I love that he has the love of this character so much that he's kept it all the time and kept it semi alive. Right? He's done some stuff to keep it going.
I wonder how it's written to his estate and into his will and stuff like that too. Like, if he dies, does it go back to public domain? Does it go what happens to him so that like if Warren Beatty dies tomorrow, do we get the ability to do Dick Tracy again eventually? I don't know. But it's just kind of a fun fact to it that like he's made this movie that he starred in, the Dick Tracy movie that everybody has to pay attention to. It's like very egotistical in a sense because I directed it, I started it. This is the only Dick Tracy movie that's out there that people want to watch. And if I don't let anybody else have the rights to it, they can't make a new one that might be better than it. So like, here you go. So screw all you.
Like if Michael Keaton had gotten Batman and just been like, that's it. That's it. I'm Batman. There's no more.
I wouldn't have been upset. Like
I know, I'd have been fine with it. Yeah. Well, especially, oh man, can you imagine a universe that the George Clooney Batman didn't happen? Yeah. Oh, that's a shame. I'm sure we're gonna have to watch that, right? That's gonna come out.
You didn't realize this? But Michael Keaton says the only other person that's allowed to play Batman is George Clooney. No. So the movie, it came out in 1990, summer of 1990. It was made for $46 million. It brought in $162.7 million, which great. I think it made money, I'm guessing.
I am fairly certain I was at the theater for this. I'm pretty sure I went to the theater and saw this movie.
$162 million in 1990 is obviously a lot different than $162 million in 2024. Right. But I mean, I think that's Hollywood math. I'm sure it made money, right? I mean, that's
I'm sure it was successful. And I remember it like there being Dick Tracy stuff everywhere, right? There were Dick Tracy action figures. There were Dick Tracy, like,
so I meant to get it. It's so over here in the corner, Paul, below my genie.
Yep.
It's a hole, right? This is where the shelves come together.
Yep.
Like Dick Tracy, I have a Dick Tracy action figure that fell in there, and I can't get it without like taking shit off and moving it. But I meant to do it over the past couple of weeks. To be like, I gotta get it out there.
To get down there.
Yes, exactly. I gotta send my son in there, face down,
right?
Hold his legs.
Go, go Nova, get it.
He'd freak out. But yeah, so like there was a lot of stuff around it, and it was a big thing. I think it's one of those. I don't know the colorfulness of it too. I think there's the simplicity of the poster. Black with the black drawing on it.
Yellow.
It's so great. His obviously his iconic yellow jacket, and that's similar in the comic book. If you go check the comic book out, he makes appearances in the comic book like he does in the movie, of where he just like you turn the corner and like there's Dick Tracy there in an all black background with a yellow jacket, and so like it's very iconic. But did you know, Paul, who wrote this? It's Jim Cash and Jack Epps Jr. wrote the screenplay in the movie. Also wrote Top Gun, Turner and Hooch, Anaconda, Top Gun Maverick, but it's based on characters. I think they just helped with the story. And the Flintstones, Viva La
Interesting selection there.
Izzy and Mo, I don't know what that is. I don't know who that is. Legal Eagles. I don't know what that is. The Secret to My Success. Oh, it has Michael J. Fox in it.
Oh, there you go.
But to me, I'm like, think about it, like Top Gun, classic movie, right?
Oh,
awesome. Turner and Hooch is a pretty classic movie.
Turner and Hooch has a good following for sure.
Anaconda,
it's funny. I just literally saw something about Anaconda and about how the animatronic snake would like have like seizures, like it would freak out And they said, and the actors, so like the actors were actually afraid and things because the snake, when it would come up out of the water stuff, would like mess up, and they were like terrified of the freaking thing. The thing started thrashing around.
But
So fun fact out
yes,
there.
Anaconda. I just watched it recently, honestly, and it just
I
doesn't.
watched it when it came out, like way
Just
back, and
doesn't.
I wasn't big into that stuff anyway. But for whatever reason, I watched it, and I was like, yeah, no, that
Well,
was
and it's
something.
there's something about this is speaking of that because there's a pop star in this movie called Madonna.
Yeah,
But there's something about bringing in pop stars to star as a like, having a supporting role or having
yeah.
a side role of someone who doesn't really
Madonna was
act.
incredible in this movie.
Madonna was great, but she also wasn't the main character. She wasn't
Yeah,
a super main character. She was a mainer, like a co-starring, I would think. But
yeah.
like, but in
One of the most
Anaconda with was
top
it
side characters.
who's in
Yeah, I
Anaconda
was gonna
that's
say who was in that? Jennifer. I want to say Jennifer Lopez.
it's
It wasn't.
it
It
is Jennifer
was.
Lopez.
Was it Jennifer
And she
Lopez?
just wasn't that good. I guess she's not that great. Like at the time, she was early in her potential acting career and stuff like that. She just wasn't that good. So that Madonna on this one, they were using a star among stars to try to
Yeah,
sell this movie. Like, let's be honest.
yeah.
But Paul, who else is in this movie?
Everyone, like
Anybody who was
everyone is in this
acting in the
movie.
early '90s of any stature was in
Yeah,
this freaking movie. Al Pacino, Madonna. You
Dustin
had
Hoffman.
Dustin Hoffman. You had Dick Van Dyke, James
Yep.
Caan. It's Catherine O'Hara. So
It's
there's like
almost
just
like it's almost like now if the Dick Tracy comic like makes a big splash,
yeah.
then anybody could go to a Comic-Con and be like, I was in the Dick Tracy movie.
Yeah. But it was great because like I think about Al Pacino, Dustin Hoffman, but also 1990 was a little different for some of these. Like James Caan, I don't know what he was. James Caan was the dad, if anyone wants to know, on the actual dad of Buddy the Elf on Elf.
Yeah.
Or the dad, like when he goes in the office building and that's where he is. Dick Van Dyke obviously was someone.
Yeah, Dick Van Dyke
Mandy
was
Patinkin. Mandy Patinkin was he was in Criminal Minds. He was one of like the lead people in the TV show Criminal Minds.
It was crazy how many actors I recognized doing other things from this movie. I was like, oh, they were in this and they were in that and they were in even like the little sidebar characters and side villains and stuff.
Well, I'm thinking like most of those people we probably noticed hindsight's 2020, Paul.
Yeah.
A lot of those people we noticed because we've seen things from 1990 probably on that they were in.
Oh yeah, tons of it.
We wouldn't have gone to the theater and been like, "Oh, look who it is! It's so and so and so and so." That we didn't know who they were really until we saw the next thing they were in all likelihood. Like me personally, some of those people like James Caan was obviously in Misery from Stephen King, which was
one of the villains on here was on Lethal Weapon, which I mean I saw eons ago. Where did that come from? Yeah,
I have no idea what just happened.
It came up and gone.
Hold on.
Are we live? Or is somebody liking this?
Oh, what is that? What does that B do? I just did a B. It's making a beeping noise. Did I hit B?
What the frick
is going on?
By.
But some of these things, people we wouldn't have potentially known, so which is pretty cool. But like looking 100%. Back on it, you're like, holy crap, there's everybody in this freaking thing. And just so everybody knows, Chester Gould made the original comic strip. Earlier, I said the guy who created it. Chester Gould was the guy who created
Chester Gould, the original creator. I have to say, this inspired me watching this again. And the fact, of course, of the new comic coming out, I'm sort of inspired to get one of they make like I don't know, like omnibus style hardcovers of all the old comic strips, just for the fun of reading them, just the nostalgia. Add to my giant hoard of things I need to read.
The problem with me is like my first introduction to Dick Tracy was this movie.
Me too.
And so like I'm gonna read it and be like, it's like my whole joke I say about don't show people Spaceballs before you show them Star Wars, because Star Wars just becomes unfunny Spaceballs. And this is the same thing. I feel like it'll be the same thing. I feel like I read the comic book strip and be like, oh, this is not the movie though, even though it's not. It's the opposite, and that's the way it should
the way around. I don't know. Yeah, and I went out and looked at the original art, and like Big Boy in the comic looks very different than Al Pacino played him in this. They still did some of the like makeup and stuff for it. But yeah, Big Boy in the comic series is more like almost like Kingpin.
Yeah,
like he's a big, huge dude. And I feel like in this they more made it like the fact he was Big Boy because he was the big villain. Like, but yeah, overall, I don't know. I think it'd be fun to do. I think this is a fun series. I think movie wise, and I was kind of surprised. It was fun to go into it watching it with my wife, where she didn't see this growing up to see what she thought. But I was a little disappointed that she didn't have this like love of it that I did, or she said I appreciate it.
Well, here's the deal. So I do think
watch it, but
people who don't like the actual movie itself might understand is what we've talked off the top about this movie is it's a beautiful movie. Like the actual watching of the movie, like if you just have it on in the background, your wife was like, helping, doing some stuff around the house or whatever, and she looks at the TV and she's like, oh, that's a cool like shot or a cool like background or
cool scene,
colors
or like
or
the
whatever.
Costumes or
that stuff. I can see because it actually did win an Oscar, Paul. It won best art direction, best makeup, and best original song. This movie won.
Yeah, which also was another one. The soundtrack to this is phenomenal for it, but the soundtrack creator in this was also very famous.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, what was the other movie he did? That was like
huge.
Like, oh shoot, I write about it.
But that's the thing is like it's actually an award-winning movie. So it's not even like I made the joke at the beginning, but like this actually won awards. It's not like one like Razzie awards. Like this won real awards. It's like actual like they have hardware for this stuff.
Definitely not in the normal category of things we watch.
It's Danny Elfman.
Yes, Danny Elfman. Thank you.
Who's a unbelievable music.
You say legendary? So is he a legendary?
No, he's legendary. He's legendary.
Yeah.
But Paul, you want me to list off a little bit of what he's done?
Go for it.
I have a filmography here. Well, he's also he plays in a band too, so like that's that too. List of compositions? No, that's not it. Sexual harassment lawsuits?
That's that. Maybe not. Maybe not that one.
Film score. Is there actually like I'm on Wikipedia here? It usually has a
reasons to be famous. That's not a good one.
There's usually a list of their.
I was gonna say I thought I had it, and I remember I read a whole bunch of stuff, but I watched this movie. So I think I watched this right after we recorded our last podcast.
Yes, you did.
Almost about that. Normally, I try to watch them very close, and it's probably a good thing I did because I've been so busy that I would have had to try to squeeze this in somewhere in my schedule.
Okay, I'll start in 1980.
I was able to watch and enjoy it, but
1988. Ready? Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
Big Top Pee-wee. Pee-wee's Big Top. Scrooged. I
love Scrooged.
I love that movie. Absolutely, Bill Murray Christmas movie. Batman, obviously. Dick Tracy.
That was what it was. It was Batman 89.
Yeah.
And I was thinking how they are definitely similar sounding, like watching them, but the soundtrack fits this so well.
So you have Batman. So you have Batman. Then that's in 1989. In 1990, he did Dick Tracy's and Edward Scissorhands. Okay. In 1992, he did Batman Returns. In 93, he did Nightmare Before Christmas.
It's all super iconic movies.
Then he did the Mission Impossible soundtrack in 1996, as well as Mars Attacks.
And then Limp Bizkit did the. Okay, never
mind. Men in Black, Flubber, and Good Will Hunting all in the same year.
Crazy.
97. He did A Simple Plan, which was a pretty good. It was an okay movie. And that was up until 2000s. But more recently, if anybody does not look thinking back on it, he did the new Grinch movie in 2018.
Oh, the animated one there.
Yeah, he did that score and soundtrack.
Yep,
he did. He's responsible for all the music in the 50 Shades movies.
All right.
But he's in the Avengers of Ultron. He did those. He's doing Beetlejuice.
I cannot believe that. I cannot believe it. Is that the sequel that he's doing?
Yes.
Or is that that's not the musical, that's the sequel. I sort of can't believe they're actually making a sequel to this movie after.
We'll see.
What 30 years? 30 years?
Yeah.
35 years? That they're making a sequel to.
Yeah, so 36 years.
I loved Beetlejuice growing up. I saw the original movie. I watched the cartoons. I actually think I'm going to do a Beetlejuice tattoo on my arm.
Yeah.
Because of my childhood nostalgia for Beetlejuice. But that is surprising to go back and do another one.
Comes out September 6th. So you know what we should do in end of August? Discuss Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice?
The original one.
Beetlejuice.
And then he also
did
like
this because I feel like hating Beetlejuice is a little hard. Like, and I'm obviously
that would be one of the ones like when we did Batman Returns for Christmas. It was more like along the lines of like, okay, we're actually going to talk about a movie we do like.
This movie.
Yeah.
Beetlejuice. Yep.
And hopefully, like maybe talk about things like what we would like to see in the new one. Hopefully, they don't do this. Hopefully, this comes back.
Yeah.
If it's a week or two prior, we'll have like leaked things from the set, so we'll know a little bit what's going to happen.
We should have done Ghostbusters 2 for the Ghostbusters release, and then I could praise it, and you could talk about how bad it was.
We still can do Ghostbusters.
I know you were busy going ahead having a real life.
Yeah. He did Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness too. That was the more recent one. People could do music on that.
I know some people like that
was
movie.
Amazing.
Yeah, I'm sure it was. I don't remember. I watched it in theaters and was like, ugh.
But Danny Elfman is legendary.
Yeah.
I give you half of those movies on that thing, he becomes legendary.
Oh yeah.
And so you add the other half to it, and he's like,
say Batman. You say Batman '89. We're done anyways. He's legendary.
Batman '89 and Beetlejuice and this and
that's great.
What did I say? What was the other one that I thought was really, really? Oh, Nightmare Before Christmas, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, Nightmare Before Christmas.
They go done.
Yeah.
So, and all these have similar, like the Batman Returns, this and Nightmare Before Christmas have like similarities in their whole artistic
like
part of it. Because
a dark,
yes,
like this. You know what I mean? Like, and creating the scene with the music, I feel like is a big part of it. You know, you're adding that in there.
Do you want to know the fun fact while I look at my notes? So sure. Jack the kid in this movie, is Jack from Hook. The kid in Hook.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I was like looking at the kid. I'm like, I know that kid from somewhere. Where's that kid from?
There's a childhood movie that did not age as well, and I went back to watch Hook because I loved it as a kid.
I love that movie.
Hook did not age as well.
Really?
Yeah.
It's hard to shit on it. You want to know why it's hard to shit on it?
It didn't do much for me because of the cast.
Because he's dead. Because he's dead.
Robin Williams and national love of Robin Williams. I love Robin Williams. Hook did not.
But it's just hard to do that. Like it's hard
Hook
to
didn't do anything for me like it used to. I gotta, as a kid, and I gotta say, Dick Tracy. I think I like Dick Tracy more now than I did as a kid.
Watching Dustin Hoffman dress up like Hook is kind of hard.
Yeah.
There's
a lot of stuff in it that's kind of like, it's a little weird, a little off-putting.
It is. But it's classic. I still think that's my favorite Peter Pan story or movie.
I just want the original Peter Pan. Just give me the original Disney Peter Pan. That's my jam.
But no, so that's funny. So they not only is there
tell me Star Wars is awesome or something.
But you talk about like hindsight's 2020 is the idea of who's in this movie. We also talked about Dustin Hoffman, but like this kid was also in this movie. Was also in I mean, that movie came out a year later. Hook came out in 1991 and made twice as much money as this movie. And so like
surprised me. So this one runs a weird line, right? Because is this a movie for us, like for adults? Is this for kids? Is this a family movie? Like, okay, they did toys for it. They did all of these like promotions for it that made it feel very like kid and family oriented. At the end of the day, it's a bunch of gangsters and Dick Tracy shooting a bunch of them. Now they don't show like blood or anything with these guys, but there's a lot of people getting murdered in this. You got, gangsters killing gangsters. You've got Madonna and all of her like sensuality and posing and like all of this stuff. And like the cops killing all the bad. You get a cop murdered, right? Like in one of the early scenes of it, where he goes out and follows the bad guys and tries to warn them. Like, is this a kid's movie? Like, no. What is this? It's tough, especially nowadays, right? In our generation, in our generation growing up in the 90s, they were like, whatever. That's it. This could have been G-rated back then.
Yeah. There's like G-rated movies back then that had nudity in it. I don't know what the hell you're like. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's good for everybody. That's fine.
Yes, we're guided.
But nowadays, like, nowadays, what do you really classify this as? So
I don't know, and I also wonder this, Paul. Like, so if Dick Tracy, this strip came out in the 30s, right?
Yeah.
This is 1990, so I guess this would be for people that like are my parents.
The opening scene of it, they talk about the organized crime and about a single mother dead in the gutter.
Yeah,
but couldn't pay.
Is it for people who read the strip, or is it just based on that material and it's for a new audience? Like that's my question. I guess that's the real question. Is like
I feel like it was probably for a new audience. That would have been quite the gap to like have somebody come in there.
65. My parents are in their mid 60s, and that's. If it came out in 1930 to 1990, that's 60 years. So if you're, I guess they'd have to be not reading it then. You're a good point.
And
so someone has to be
I feel like they don't tend to gear towards the 60-year-old crowd for like, this is what we're going to try to like bring in.
And also, it also have to be older.
Yeah. So I feel like this was a new telling, and I feel like it was probably aimed towards me being 8, 9 years old.
Yeah, possibly.
Especially back then.
The kid is a big
it follows the kid a lot. He's a big part of it.
It's a family story.
So as a kid, as a child of that era, I'm like, I could be that kid running around jumping on the back of cop cars and helping Dick Tracy fight crime and all that stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because I really think you'd have to be like 75 to be before them, because you'd have to be at least 15 or so years old to read the comic book strip. in 1930
right
for it to be for you, and then it has to be 60 years later, which would make you 75, and they're not making movies for 75-year-olds.
No, that's not the geared audience. That's not the target audience.
Except they made 80 for Brady. Maybe they made for 80-year-olds. I'm not sure, but I watched that in the hospital with Taylor.
Yeah,
it's pretty bad. it's pretty bad. It's definitely pretty bad. No, but yeah, I don't know who is it. Who was the intended audience is a good question. I think it's a family movie, but not a family movie that you'd. This is not like a Pixar movie, if that makes any sense.
Right.
So like, there's family movies that are like for all ages, and then there's family movies that are for like
audience. You know
like
what
your
I mean?
oldest,
Emma's
oldest, yes, your
my
oldest
would
would
watch
be
this.
yes.
Emma's 10, and Emma loves action adventure stuff, so I could probably watch this with Em, and she'd be like set with it now. I don't think I'd watch it with Kate. Kate's 7, and Katie's a lot more like sensitive and would probably be afraid of some stuff in it. You know,
what that makes you a good Paul though, a good parent. Because you're parenting right now.
Right.
But my point is, it's like there's a thought process behind what you show your kids. And then there's other parents who are like, why didn't you tell me this? That I shouldn't show this to my kids.
I shouldn't show this.
Maybe you
Predator's not appropriate.
Maybe you should be the one telling your kids not to watch this anymore. Yes. Interesting. Paul's actually thinking about which of his kids can actually watch these movies. It's crazy. No, but I do think that like we watched this when Nova was at my Taylor's Nana's house for the night, and so we put it on and watched it. So he wasn't even in the house. But I probably wouldn't he's 3, and I probably wouldn't even had it on because of what he could potentially learn. Like he remembers a lot of stuff at 3 years old. He would talk about
he's absorbing all sorts of stuff. Yeah,
and so like there
isn't a lot of language in it necessarily or anything, but there's definitely a lot of like punching and shooting, and it's an adventure movie.
So here's a question. We just talked about Hook. Is it in the same audience?
Probably, especially in that era. But you gauge your kids and this and that.
What is it rated?
Once again, I think it's PG. Once again, I think Emma could watch Hook. I almost think watching Hook now as an adult, I almost think Emma would be bored watching Hook. I could be wrong. But
why
Emma's
did they not
also
put the rating on Wikipedia? Why is there not like a TV rating on there?
Yeah, you think they'd just have that on there?
That's weird. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know who it's for, but I guess everybody, but not everybody, if that makes any sense. Like there is no audience that wouldn't be good to it unless it's just. But that doesn't mean that there's movies not every movie's for a 7-year-old.
Yeah,
like there's definitely that's a kids movies. You're more likely to have your Kate watch a kids movie than you are watch a for all ages movie, if that makes any sense.
Yeah,
because there's like for all ages books and comics that we talk about all the time. It's not for all ages. It's for ages 10 and up.
Right.
But we say all ages because anything below 10 is kids stuff. That's all they do is read ticket, mostly kids stuff. So like there is this all ages thing, but all ages really means like 10 or older, and not all ages really. But
yeah. It's like Katie sticks to My Little Pony, like in the comic section. That's
PG.
That's her jam. It is PG, yeah. But PG in the 80s, early 90s is still different than PG now, I think. But yeah,
it is.
So I guess that was an interesting thing is how they marketed this movie and how it came out and how I don't know. I guess there aren't movies like this as much anymore, though. There aren't action adventure movies geared towards a kid. You know what I mean? Versus this had there were Dick Tracy watches, which is funny watching this too. Where the Dick Tracy, like back as a kid, I thought how cool was he? He's got his watch, he's talking into it, and it's a radio. And now it's like actually Siri's listening to me right now. I can take phone calls on my watch. I can do these things. I'm like, oh hey, we're there. We're actually kind of above it because it's just an old standard watch for the radio. Versus now this is like a computer on my wrist. Like we've passed the technology I thought was so cool.
You could make it a Dick Tracy movie watch because you just put a picture on of Dick Tracy.
Yeah.
There you go, Dick Tracy watch.
We'll do that. That'd be awesome, actually. It'd be cool they had a Dick Tracy one that had like looked like a radio for half of it, and then had the old standard.
So we're gonna read some Letterboxd half-star reviews here.
Oh god, half-star.
Okay.
I can't give a half-star to this. All right.
Those are gonna be good ones, Paul.
All right, let's have it.
Okay, let's start off with where'd it go? Did I close it? No. I'm This is a half star. This is a guy named Lug Wei N. Is a review on Letterboxd. Half star.
Okay.
They watched it March 16th, so it's a recent watch.
Oh, so it's recent. Okay.
I'm
Actually
80%
watched it
sure that Warren Beatty blackmailed every cast member except Al Pacino to be in this. He simply gave Al Pacino coke every day of shooting, and he was happy clam.
Wow.
Harsh. Why is this? This is so funny. Half star rating. I think this is maybe my least favorite film of all time. I've never felt more trapped watching a movie. Last time I watched this, I kept worrying that it would never end. Every time Al Pacino was on screen is actually the worst thing I've ever committed to a film. Huh.
Wow.
No, this one I don't get. 1-star review from Joshua Miller on Letterboxd. This is from 22, so this is still more recent. Yep. Ugly and boring. And I don't get that one. Okay?
Wow.
And the one we're gonna leave off this Letterboxd section for you, we'll continue talking for a second here, but is false advertising. We don't get to see Tracy's dick.
Wow.
Half-star review from
how do you give this? How do you comment this is ugly? Did you not understand the source material or the point of this movie?
I don't get it.
Like
I think if anything, the acting, the everything else, the music, whatever, is secondary to the visuals of this movie.
Yeah, the visuals are intended to be the way they are.
Mm-hmm.
That's somebody who just doesn't get it. Like, doesn't get it. They're probably like, why is he wearing a bright yellow coat? That's ridiculous.
Exactly. So out of I don't know, it doesn't tell me how many people rated this movie. Oh, here. Out of 36,000 ratings on Letterboxd,
this thing's been viewed.
1,500 have given it 5 stars. 1,200 have given it 4.5. 6,000 have given it 4. 6,600 have given it 3.5. So the most has been giving is 11,000 people have given it 3 stars.
Okay.
And then I
personally would be above the 3-star rank.
222 people give it a half star and 800. So 1,000 people give it 1 star or lower out of the 36,000.
All right. So, I mean, that's a low percentage overall compared.
So is the movie story itself, like the plot, the story itself, unique? No, it's a detective story.
Yeah.
It's an action adventure.
It's a pretty basic one at that. I mean, it's interesting because you have Big Boy, then you have Faceless, this whatever person that's doing and manipulating things in the background, and you have your love interest, and you have Dick Tracy. Like, should he continue being a beat cop or should he move up? And it's not an original movie, but it's fun.
Did it set out to do what it's supposed to do? Yes, it's entertaining. It's visually attractive. This music's amazing. Yeah. It captured what we wanted to see in a movie. It's in 1990. Obviously, if I looked up movies, I'd be like, oh yeah, that movie. I don't remember very many action adventure movies that I remember as much as Dick Tracy from the 90s, from the early, from that year, 91, 89. You have Batman, things like that. Like, if I think about my personal 37-year-old Justin, this movie has always been in my mind. Like, always. Like, it's always a movie where, like, someone talks about things. Like, there's never a time where I'm like, oh, I forgot about that movie. Like, Dick Tracy is one of those movies that I've, like, it's there. The poster, the black poster and the yellow jacket and all that stuff, that holding the kid's hand sometimes, depending on the poster you see.
Yep.
That is iconic to me. And so, like, all of that together.
Yeah, if you did a rough sketch, I would know exactly what you were trying to pay an homage to.
This movie makes sense to me. It does. Yeah. And so, in 1990, just for people, I just clicked on it. Goodfellas came out in 1990. Home Alone, Edward Scissorhands, Back to the Future 3, Misery, Godfather Part 3.
Great movies that year.
Total Recall, the It TV show thing, Tremors, Die Hard 2, Dances with Wolves, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I'm not going to list them all, people. So if I did forget some, oh shit.
Those are some like amazing movies, though.
Yes, but so like if you think about those movies on that, but like here's the deal: Goodfellas is a great movie. but it's not one of those ones that if say name a movie from 1990 that I would immediately go, that's the movie. Like there,
Right.
I have to figure out when that movie came out. To me, something about the year 1990. It's like 89 Batman. Like we know that movie came out in 1989, and it's like this is like 1990. Same thing with I think honestly Home Alone. If you would ask me Home Alone for some reason, I always
Ninja
right now it came
Turtles.
out in 1990. Ninja Turtles is another one.
Yep.
But those movies, I will if they say name 5 movies from 1990 or the 90s even. I probably would put this movie in there just because of it's stuck with me. It has the visual
I
attractiveness
think
to
it
the music
iconically affected
Yes.
our era. I would
Yes.
think. I would think
Yes.
this would be one that stays out in the main thing.
Mhm.
All right, I would go. I think I'd go 4 stars on this movie. I don't want to oversell it. I'd go 4 stars. I think the visuals of it. I think I thoroughly enjoyed. I think the plot's fun enough. Like it is
Yeah.
what it is. It's his point. It serves his purpose.
Yep.
Yeah. I go 4 stars on this thing.
I gave it 3.5, and I don't know.
Okay.
There's no reason why I could have easily gone to 4 stars. I just went 3.5. So
Okay.
there's that. So that makes
You
sense.
didn't want to
right
oversell
there.
it. Yeah.
I don't like it. We're doing this because Letterboxd does 5 stars. Goodreads is the book website does 5 stars. A lot of these like review your own things are all 5 stars, and that's why I've kept things in the 5-star range. I hate 5-star ratings. I wish it was 10 stars or 10 1 out of 10.
It'd be nice
because
to
you
have
a little
some
more
more
leeway.
room there. Yeah.
Because we just did this
exactly.
now. There's no you either have there's no 8.5.
Right.
Unless you do 0.25, but I do half stars only because that's a lot of these only do. They do half and whole.
Yeah.
And so like this, it's like you either gave this 4 or 4.5 stars or 3.5 stars. So I gave it a 7, you gave it an 8. I probably would have given it a 7.5, and you might have given it a 7.5. You know, like it's so like there's a possibility that we'd be in that range, and you have a little more leeway with this.
The good news is we're definitely right in the same spot. Unlike
and I think we are a lot of times too. There might be a movie here and there that I'm gonna give like 4 stars to, and you're gonna be like, that's a half star. Star Wars.
Yeah.
It's coming up here.
Oh boy.
But it's visual. This movie's visually attractive. It's doing what it's supposed to do, Paul. Entertain you.
It serves its purpose.
Entertains you.
It did it all.
These people who said they couldn't finish the movie, that it would never end.
That I don't understand. And it wasn't a long movie.
Mute and watch this movie, and I would freaking watch it.
It wasn't long. Like what is?
Well,
and honestly, it went by. Stuff went by because I remember it. Right. I mean, this was watching it.
45.
And I remembered things, and I was like, "Wow, I can't believe that's already happening in this movie." To me, it was longer when I was a kid. You know, this happened later in the movie. So I thought it went by really fast. Like him interrogating Mumbles, I thought was much later in the movie.
Oh yeah, yes, exactly. It's like it's honestly like every time I watch a Seinfeld episode, I'm always like, wait, that's the same episode,
right?
I thought there was like 6 episodes in one episode.
Piles of different episodes. Instead, they're all one.
Yes,
we're randomly putting Seinfeld on the background right now at home. It's like all right, enough of this or that. We'll just put this on for the evening and call it a night.
So if you look at his history, the guy who did the cinematography on it, we talk about viewing or visuals of this thing. He didn't do much else that I would care about, honestly.
Which is surprising for the amount of that he did for this.
Yeah, like it's not like there's not much. I mean, there's a couple movies in here I recognize, but like Apocalypse Now. Okay, there you go.
Yes, that was the big one. I remember that. Which I have not seen. That's on my that's been on my to watch list now for like years.
He did a couple other things. He did the remake or the sequel to Exorcist the beginning in 2004.
I saw The Exorcist at least. I can at least say I've seen that.
Oh, that's a good movie. That's a really good movie. But yeah, it's just weird. I was just looking at was clicking on the names here and figuring out who did what, and that was a big one. I think it's a great movie. I think that's one of those things. Like one of those things we talk about this movie because it is one of those ones that people remember and discuss. And so it is a lover hate it movie in my opinion. And so, but I don't understand how you hate it. I don't.
Yeah, I don't get that.
Here's the deal. Ready for our opinion? If you hate this movie, you're wrong.
Yep. I'd go with that. Yep. I'd go with that. I think that's fair.
It's worth watching. And here's the other thing about this cool movie, Paul, is that you can watch it, people out there. It's available. You can buy it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this isn't something you have to go hunt for like we had to with some of these. Some of these we had to hunt for and then wish we hadn't.
Yes, exactly. Dick Tracy is available for purchase on like the Google Play Store, the Apple Store, Apple TV Store, YouTube, things like that. It's not on any streaming devices, and I don't actually think it's available to watch via Amazon, but I might be. Oh no, it is. No, Lost Episodes. There's actually a TV show that had Lost Episodes. You can get the DVD, you can get the Blu-ray on Amazon. The DVD is like $13, so that's not bad.
pretty reasonable. I bet you could find it at a Bull Moose near you if you're in New York.
Probably. Yeah. But yeah, there's a little golden book.
Oh, there we go.
There was this animated show. There was this animated thing back in the day from 1938. No, I guess not. It's a Dick Tracy volume. You can buy the compendium.
I was gonna say, I almost think I remember seeing some sort of random cartoon series or something from this when I was, but it wasn't like a main thing.
Dick Tracy Dead or Alive.
It was like a
comic book.
Buy a VHS at like your dollar store type thing.
Yeah. I don't know.
Probably was just taking clips of the comics and making it.
Like, when was the last time that there was actually? I bet Alex and Michael will know this. We talked to them on the podcast. But when the last time a comic for Dick Tracy came out?
No, I couldn't tell you. It hasn't been. I have not seen Dick Tracy while I've been doing this. I have seen the release of like the omnibus style hardcover books. But that's the only thing I've seen the whole time I've been doing this.
Let me see. Dead or Alive is for
4 issues. 7 years.
Oh, wow. That's this summer? Or no, this fall.
This summer will be 5. This November will be 5 years of storefront, 7 years in Galactic comic history.
Dick Tracy Dead or Alive was a 4-issue miniseries that published by IDW in 2018.
Okay.
Concluded in 2019. Miniseries by Lee Allred and Michael Allred.
So I missed that because that came out in Galactic era and I didn't even see it at all.
IDW.
Interesting.
It's cancellation of now it's shortly after its cancellation of Archie Comics Dick Tracy miniseries, which came out prior to that.
Okay.
In September of 2023, the new Dick Tracy comic book.
I haven't even seen any of these, like digging through back and stuff. You know what I have had? We've had the Dick Tracy sort of like the hardcover, almost like graphic novel form from the 90s. That's just the movie done in like an animated sequence. We've had that a few times.
I actually am kind of mad I missed this. So following Dick Tracy Dead or Alive was Dick Tracy Forever, a 4-issue comic book series at IDW in April of 2019. The miniseries is penciled by Michael Avon Oming. And colors by Taki Soma, with letters by Sean Lee. That makes sense to me. I can totally picture Michael Oming doing artwork for a Dick Tracy comic book. His flat, two-dimensional, like not very, like
it's perfect.
But he did powers and all that stuff. I could totally see that. Oh,
it fit
sharp lines. Yeah, I'm gonna find this. Read this.
Hunt that down. I have a person at the door right now, asking if we're open.
Nope. We'll finish up here.
I just told him podcasting. Be right there.
Dick Tracy, 3.5, 4 stars. So we don't do 0.75, but we're gonna do it right here. 3.75 stars right here between the two of us.
Yeah.
It's available on all the. You can buy it. Like I said, you buy it for $3.99. Watch it. It's worth it.
Great.
It's pop culture.
It's great. It's fun.
I don't know if it connects at all or has any sort of like resemblance to the comic book. Like I don't know if there's a reason like you'd have to watch it to read the comic book, but why not? The comic book comes at the end of the month. You listen to this episode, watch the movie, buy the comic book from Mad Cave Studios.
Watch the movie, support local creators, support your local comic shop.
So Mad Cave Studios, that comes out at the end of this month, and it'll be I don't know if I think it's a miniseries. Pretty sure it's a miniseries.
Yeah.
And then listen to the episode with us or me talking with Alex Segura and Michael Morrissey, April 17th, about talking about the comic book as well. So cool, Paul. It's always been great to talk to you. Maybe I'll see you again one day. I don't know.
Eventually.
I got to return to comics.
I don't even know where to go with this.
You gave me a B cover.
What? No.
I'm gonna murder my comic book store.
No way. What was it?
Invasive.
And I have no excuses. I pulled them.
Invasive. Invasive number 4 was a B cover. And what was the other one? I have it. It's in my box. There's another one.
I'm sure I got an A out front. I'll swap it out.
Yeah, I know I will.
Teasing me.
If you don't, I'm just gonna do it myself, so it's fine.
Yeah.
No, I'll be in this week, so we'll chat and so on. But yeah, Dick Tracy.
Dick Tracy,
everybody. And go to galacticcomicsandcollectibles.com and
I promise we are adding to the website. I think that's gonna be my plan for the great nor'easter of 2024 here coming. Is that I'm gonna come in and just add to the website galore. So
yeah, I don't know why we don't plan for this, and we know this is gonna happen in Maine. It's gonna be April. What is it? April 4th. Yep. It's gonna be a snowstorm. It's like 6 to 12 inches.
It happens in
Whatever.
It's annoying
Hey, Paul.
and it's gross, but it happens.
Yeah. Oh, Alex Murdaugh sentenced to 40 years in federal prison, financial crimes. So just CNN. We're breaking news on here.
Breaking news.
Thanks, Paul. We'll see you soon. Enjoy the nice weather for at least for today. And hopefully you sell a lot of stuff at the comic book shop. Keep it in business.
Hell yeah. I'm going to go comic book it up.
Yeah. See you, Paul.
See ya.